The very first thing Al Gore did after he created the internet was to design this Punch the Monkey banner ad. It's been used by marketers for generations, but times have changed and we need to progress. Now we have games like Wordle, which keeps us coming back to the same website day after day. First try, all right. Or who hasn't been on an e-commerce site and got sucked in by a scratch and win or a spin to win type game? Now the thing with these is you got to give up your contact info before you even get to play the game. I'm a sucker and do it every time anyway. I hope I win. All right, looks like I got the free hydrating serum. I could really use it. Now, these games, as well as a ton of other options, are available from Playzo, a new lifetime deal at AppSumo. Playzo lets you take the development part out of the game and simply customize it with your own brand information. Your logo, your colors, even your products can be part of the game, and it's really impressive how easy they've made this. Now, throughout the rest of this video, I'll be reviewing Playzo as I show you how to customize one of their games. And this is their game library. Like I said before, there are a ton of other options. Most of these are going to be somewhat familiar, like they're just, kind of classic games like a crossword puzzle, or they could be similar to other games you've seen before, like Fruit Ninja or Wordle, like we saw earlier. Now, check this out. They've got quizzes with AI. That means that these games aren't just for marketers, but they're for educators as well. If you want to keep your students coming back and actually learning in your courses, well, you can easily create a quiz using AI, which is actually an important transition because Playzo is part of AppSumo's AI Week, which is running right now. I'm going to be reviewing products from AI Week every single day this week on this channel. So get subscribed down below if you're not already. Keep it locked on this channel to keep up with all of the new AI tools that are just hitting AppSumo right now. AppSumo is the sponsor of today's video, and I want to thank them for their continued support. Now, a little later in this video, I'm going to come back and build out a quiz, and we'll go over all of the AI features at that time. But let's just get acquainted with everything that Playzo has to offer by going to the all games section, and let's find a game to go ahead and start modifying. So I'm going to scroll through here and see if anything catches my eye. And right away, I really like this KFC game, particularly because, let's go ahead and play it, because it has products inside of it. So if I had my own products, I could swap out the chicken and fries for whatever widgets I was selling on my e-commerce site. This is kind of like a Bejeweled type of game, by the way. So I can move stuff around here and then make 3 in a row and then they disappear. So kind of a fun little game. You could see people might get addicted to playing this. Basically, what we could do is set a particular score. And if someone were able to achieve that score, well, then maybe they get a discount. They can unlock a coupon code. All right, so here's my last move of the game. And we'll see if I actually won anything here. Well, I've got to supply my info to find out if I get a prize. And I want a free meal. So I can go ahead and place my KFC order. Now, this isn't real, but if it were, I could go ahead and copy the coupon code here, click order now, and then go off to the KFC website and make my purchase. So let's see how we can easily take this concept and then apply it to our own brand. So instead of clicking play over here, I'm going to choose create, and it's going to ask for the title of the game. I'm just going to call it something real creative like match game. And let's go ahead and start editing. So essentially there are 3 main screens that we can modify here. So we've got our game screen, which is where all of the interaction actually happens. Then there is the lead screen, which we saw at the end of the game. This is where I fill out my information. I can customize exactly what info I want to get. So name, phone number, and email. Let's say I don't want phone numbers. Well, I can go into the form fields here and simply remove that. Now, what's really nice is as I'm making changes over here on the right, it's going to redraw the game in real time. So there you just saw the email field disappear. And the last screen here is called the end screen, where it actually maps the performance of the player to an outcome. So that's considered game over cases. So you can see if you get over 500 points, that's when you win the coupon code. And if you get below that, you're considered a loser and you don't get anything. I can change this and customize it exactly as I want. Okay, we'll go through these screens in more detail, but let's start off on that game screen to see how we might swap out the chicken pieces for something else. So we've got our game elements over here. And the first thing is the background. You can see they've got a KFC background as well as some chicken. So pretty easy here. I can just replace that with whatever I like. And through the magic of editing, I have swapped out the KFC background. So we've got this kind of bluish greenish background in here now. I also also change the desktop background to be an AppSumo themed background. Now, most importantly, we can change the items. Right down here, we've got all of the different food items. So, and there we go. That was super easy. I swapped out all of the chicken and fries for other AppSumo LTDs. Now, you might notice that all of the products have this white background. That's what they call the grid background. And I can swap that out for a different image if I like, or I can just change the padding right here to maybe make it bigger or smaller. So here it is a little bit bigger. I like that. Maybe I'll space out the items a little bit more now that the images are more complex themselves. Okay, I'm pretty happy with that. Now we've got our score text, which is of course related to the score right over here. So if I wanted to change this from the word score to points or anything else, I could customize it. It's going to refresh the page. I like that the live preview is continuously updating. And it does say that if the changes are not visible to refresh the page. In my experience, I have not had that happen yet, but I'm sure it will eventually, or they wouldn't have that message there. We can change the general position using the X and Y axis and even make the font size a little bit smaller is kind of where I'm going to go with this. We don't need the score quite so big. And if it's not standing out because you changed the background, of course, we can set a different color here. It does use hex code, so I'm just going to make these black. So now my score text is customized, but my move text is still white. So we can make these things match by just going to the move text section. There's also some game functionality mixed in here. So how many moves do people get in order to try to achieve the score that unlocks the reward? So the default is set to 10, but if I felt like that was too easy, maybe I could lower it down to 8. You can change the language here. So if you want to translate this to another language, you could easily do that as well. And once again, we can change the position using the X and Y axis and also choose a different font size. Okay, I've got everything matching here. The only thing left is that I want to change the font itself. I feel like that font is a little bit hard to read. Now I can upload my own font here. It only supports TTF files, but it does have some fonts built right in. So you can probably browse through here and find one that looks good if you don't have a brand font that must be on all of your materials. The only two things I'd like to see them improve here is there's not really that many fonts available. Sure, I can upload my own, but it'd be really nice if they had the entire Google Fonts catalog available to you. I just find that the options they have all kind of look the same and I don't really like any of them. So I definitely would upload my own font if I were to actually publish this game. The other thing I don't like is there is an outline on all of the text to make it stand out on any background. And we can see that if I change the color. Let's say I were to make it, oh, I don't know, how about like a purple color or something like that. You're going to see there is a black background or a black border on all of the text. Now that is okay, but I'd like the option to remove that because it might make my stuff look off brand and I'd want it to look exactly as I want, right? That's the whole point. Maybe I'm nitpicking here, but I do think it would be nice to have a little bit more control over the typography. So otherwise, I think the game is looking pretty good here. I can go ahead and publish it if I'm ready or preview it to try it out and make sure that my images look good and everything plays nice and smooth. So here's the AppSumo game. And just like before, we want to match these things up to try to, eliminate them, and then we'll score points to unlock a prize. Now, of course, we want to go through and customize the lead screen as well as the end screen. So let's do that. The lead screen is going to be just like we saw on the game screen where it's got a custom background. We can easily replace that with our own. But perhaps most importantly are the form fields. Is there enough options here to suit your needs? So we've got a name field, a phone number field, an email ID, an address field, a date of birth, and that's it. Not a big deal, but I do think it's important to clarify. I don't see a way to add additional fields. We just get the fields we get and we can toggle them on and off. There is a form settings section here where we can position the form exactly as we want it on the page. So I just moved it a little bit. We should see it redrop. It might not even be noticeable because I barely adjusted it. There you go. Actually, it's quite a bit further up the page. So let's bring it down, make a little bit bigger gap after that last line of text. We can also customize the submit button. Now, unfortunately, there are no buttons to choose from, but you can upload your own image. So you actually have to do a little bit of graphic design work here or go on Envato and download some buttons, but you can make it look on brand with all of the other buttons on your website. So that actually might be a benefit rather than trying to use their builder to customize it to look somewhat like the buttons you already have. There's also an optional terms and conditions checkbox. So if you want to turn this on, again, it's going to reload the game here. It'll allow you to have a little checkbox to say that you're agreeing to the terms and conditions of playing the game. So that's just right here. Now I can also require the checkbox, which will make the box show up. And there we go. And just like before, there are sliders to change all of this stuff. So if you don't like how that's spaced, you can adjust it. There we go. That's looking a little bit better. We can change our font family down here, just like we did on the game screen. I think a nice touch might be to just set that up up in the configure screen overall, they should have a section here on typography and set that as kind of like the default for the entire game. That's not how it works right now. So it might be good, it might be bad, the fact that you can customize it on a screen by screen basis, because it does leave a little bit more room for error, but I suppose it also allows you to have a little bit more customization on a screen by screen basis. And finally, we've got our end screen, which is of course where you go after you've submitted the lead form. And here we can change the background image, choose our game cases. So what happens when you get a certain score? And this is all customizable, by the way. So I can hit this little pencil icon here and say, okay, if you get between 100 points and 200 points, you're going to get such and such. And you can easily set this up to be whatever you want. So there's a play again button you can turn on and off on a case by case basis. So maybe if someone gets a high enough score, they can continue to play, or maybe if they don't get a high score, they can continue to try and unlock the prize. And then of course we have a call to action down here, which can link to any website that you'd like. Now you can add more cases. So we can just click right here to add a case. Now you can only have one losing screen, but you can have multiple winning screens. So if someone gets just an astronomical score, you want to give them a better prize, you can do that right here. So you can see this is a winning screen. Lose screen is grayed out because that's what we saw before right over here. This is the lose screen. Once again, we've got our font section for this page, as well as some customization options for the hero text and the ability to swap out that call to action button. The play again button does have options as well, and we can also configure how that score is displayed and the language that is used. All right, so everything is pretty much customizable as much as you might expect. The last thing to talk about is the mechanics. Now, this particular game does have some sound involved, and we can go ahead and turn this sound on or off, change out the sound, the candies, the game one, all of those sounds you can add with your own David Lee Roth noises, whatever you want to add in, you can do it as long as you have the legal rights to use those sound samples. You can even swap out the loading animation. You can upload your own custom SVG loader here, or they do have a bunch of choices for you. And of course, the color is selectable as well. So maybe you're feeling kind of more of an orangish thing. There you go. All right, when my game is all ready, of course, I can hit publish here and it's going to be available. I can use this URL right here. I can embed it on my website using the embed code, or I can get a floating widget that's just going to float it over top on my website. Now, what I think is also really cool is they have custom domains. So over under configure here, you can go down to the bottom and you can add your own custom domain so that you can maybe make it games.yourdomain.com and people can play right there and it looks like it's completely custom for your business. Now, how many CNAME records you can add to your account depends on the plan you choose over at AppSumo. By the way, I've got a link in the description. If you're thinking that Playzo looks pretty cool, you want to pick it up, I'd appreciate it if you click that before making a purchase. So with tier 1, you're going to get 5 different CNAME records, which means 5 different websites. You have a custom domain for every game that you create. The important thing to note is how many views or clicks you get to that page is going to be limited by what tier you choose. If you're just getting started out, starting at 6,000 views per month is probably going to be just fine. If you're already an established brand, you're probably going to look to tier 4 or even tier 5. A couple other things to point out while we're glancing at the deal terms from AppSumo. The ability to remove their watermark starts at tier 2. So that's going to bump a lot of you up out of tier 1 and into tier 2. The other thing that you might want to consider is a leaderboard. So if you're trying to build a community, maybe you're doing education-based stuff and you want to see who's scoring the highest, you want to have like a school and people are competing to achieve the most, well, adding a leaderboard can do a lot for that, and that starts at tier 4. So pause the video, glance at this, or check it out over on AppSumo with the link in the description. Of course, this review would not be complete without checking out the quizzes with AI. It is AI week at AppSumo after all, so let's go ahead and build out a quiz with AI. There are 5 different templates that we can use here. I want to point out that this one right here actually is a quiz with video. This was introduced because of Sumo Links. People bought this the first time it was on AppSumo and they mentioned they want to have videos inside of the quizzes. So the team built out this template. I think that's pretty cool. So we can go ahead and just modify this here. I'm going to hit create and I'll choose video quiz for my name. Again, an ultra creative name. And here we are inside of the editor. Now for this, we've got an additional screen that we didn't have before, a start screen. So the start screen is going to be the very first thing you see before you begin the quiz. Then we've got the game screen, which is where all of the quiz questions actually take take place. So you can see the questions and options are right over here. And then there's an end screen where after you've completed the quiz, it will show you your score. It's just rendering here, be done in a second. There you go. That's what it looks like. So let's do a very quick dash through the configuration of this quiz. Now that you're acquainted with the tool, a lot of the screens start to look very similar. So at the start screen, we've got a background. We can change that out. We've got a button. We can change that out, position it, resize it, just like we saw before. What's most important on this screen is because we chose that video template, we want to actually add in our very own video, which I've already done here, one of my most recent reviews on YouTube. Now the layout, because this is kind of mobile phone centric, it's meant for that vertical video, which I don't have any of. So I just made mine 9:16. You can change the container of the video right here. So if you wanted more of a 9:16 look, you'd bump this up over probably to right about there. And now we're going to redraw the screen and you'll see a lot of blank space at the top and the bottom because it's looking like it's trying to contain like a 9:16 video. Okay, so that's the start screen. Let's just go ahead and move to the game screen here, which has those AI features. We can actually generate the entire quiz using AI. So let's do that right here. I'll hit generate with AI. All right, I'm going to create a quiz to test users on the basics of HTML. It's going to be a 3-question quiz, and there's going to be 4 options per question with, let's go with a hard difficulty level. We'll see how well we do. Let's generate the quiz right here. It's going to be in English. I'll come back to this. Oh, here we go. You can actually see it while it's generating. These are all of the languages that are available. My quiz is ready. Let's finish up with those languages real quick before we check out the quiz. Here are all of the languages that are available that I can use AI to generate a quiz in. Pretty comprehensive. You'll probably find the language that you need is listed here more than likely. So now let's check out this quiz that was just created for us. That is going to be found under questions and options. We've got the 3 questions that the AI created for us, as well as the 4 options that were generated. Now, if I were to edit one of these questions, we can see maybe a more manual approach, how this actually would have been created if we didn't use AI to do it. So we've got the question at the top. We can have images added to each question or each answer, each possible answer. And then down at the very bottom, it's going to have an explanation. So why is this the answer? And then you can choose which answer is correct. So you're going to want to look to see it's not going to randomize it, right? You'll have to actually make sure you choose the correct option as the right answer. And then just like we saw before, every element in the UI is going to have some sliders available to change the color, to position it into different sections on the screen. There's customizations for the option UI, for the feedback UI. The next button can be swapped out just like we saw in the KFC game. You can change the timer to choose how long people have to answer the question. And of course, there's score text as well as some font options. All right, I want to try this thing out. How well do I know HTML? I'm about to find out. So here is my welcome screen or my start screen with my video. So I could watch that. It could be an introduction to the actual, maybe this is a lesson and then there's a quiz to follow. This could teach the information. And then on the next page, it could be questions about what I just learned about. So what does HTML stand for? Well, I know this. It actually is Hypertext Markup Language. So that's going to be this one right here. Correct. This is the correct screen. We can move to the next option. Which tag is used to define an HTML tag in the header? Well, that's the head tag. And then what is the purpose of a div in HTML? It's to define a division. So there we go. We've got 3 out of 3 correct. We go to the end screen. It says I got 3 correct and basically well done. I can go to the next video. Here I could actually link up to another quiz that takes me, to just learn the next lesson. You kind of build your own little online course this way. So if we edit the end screen, we can see some of those options. So we've got a background image. We've got the game over cases, just like we saw on the KFC matching game, where we can go ahead and say if someone gets a score above a certain amount, they can play the game again, so on and so forth. But one other feature that's kind of unique to quizzes in general is the ability to generate certificates. So you can have a generate certificate button that is displayed after someone passes the quiz, and then you can add in your own certificate here that can have some text that's added to it. So this is kind of a placeholder image, and then we can say this is a certificate that certifies someone has completed such and such verification. So there it is. That's how you create a game or a quiz inside of Playzo. Overall, it's a very intuitive platform. I find that I don't really need to hunt around to do things. It's pretty obvious where to go. The only things I'd like to see are maybe that uniformity in terms of adding fonts and colors. In fact, if I have a space, I should be able to just, in my manage space sections, add in all of my branding information, and then everything I create is automatically going to be on brand. That would be really cool. They could even just auto adjust those templates as we start to generate them. That would save a lot of time in the creation process, but I'm just really nitpicking here. It's a great system, and it's certainly a heck of a lot cheaper than developing your own game from scratch and hiring someone to do that for you. So definitely check out Playzo if you have a need for this. I'm going to go ahead and give this one a 8.1. Yeah, the scores are back. The score doesn't really mean anything, just so you know. It just means I like this tool. If it's in the 8s, that's a good thing. Now, I will be back with more AI reviews later this week. And then at the end of the week, I do plan to do a tier list roundup of all of the new AI tools as I get a chance to try them out and review them for you. So if you want to learn more, make sure you hit that like button, get subscribed to the channel, drop me a comment for the algorithm. Thank you for watching. I will see you in the next review.